Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. XRP Las Vegas tickets are live. You go to xrplasvegas.com. I believe that they're about to start announcing a lot of the major speakers that are going to be there, and that'll be a rolling thing, but that'll be coming out soon, and I can assure you it's going to be some big time speakers. So go to xrplasvegas.com if you'd like to get tickets. I'll be there. Okay, here's Eric Trump. I 1000% agree with Eric Trump. We've said it for a long time on this channel. You have to deal with big pullbacks in order to get big returns. It's the old higher the risk, higher the reward, or higher the loss. That's how it works. That's life.
You know, if you can't handle volatility, stay out of cryptocurrency and don't bother. But, go into treasuries where you're going to have zero volatility and you're going to click away at, 3% returns. Go have a great time doing that, and I'll see you in 10 years.
That's kind of how I feel. Now, look, I'm no financial advisor, but everybody's situation is different. If I was an 80-year-old man, I would not have most of my stuff in crypto because I would have the lower time horizon. I would be focused more on things like income, because I'm assuming at 80 I'd be retired or I did something bad wrong. So everything depends on people's situations, but you need to ask your financial advisor. Dom Quat, see, this is what they don't tell you. XRP's up 220% more this year than Bitcoin at 9, Ethereum at 2, Solana at -33, Link at 8. Hate all you want, but the numbers don't lie. That's the fact, Jack. Everybody's talking about how successful the XRP ETF was with Canary Capital.
Canary Capital's XRPC, the first U.S. spot ETF tied to the XRP token, had an impressive debut yesterday with $58 million in trading volume, the highest for any ETF launched this year across more than 900 fund launches. That's according to Bloomberg's ETF analyst Eric Balchunas. Volume narrowly edged out Bitwise's Solana ETF, which logged $57 million on its first day. The strong start
And she doesn't say the important part, that Bitwise is 30 times the size of Canary.
indicates growing institutional interest in diversifying beyond Bitcoin and Ether.
Okay, and here this is Crypto America Live with Eleanor Terrett talking about the ETF.
Joining us now, we have some big news, right? This XRP ETF has kind of
some news. Yeah.
gone parabolic, as they say. It's Thursday debut on the NASDAQ. I mean, Canary Capital's XRPC, the first pure play XRP spot ETF on Wall Street. And I say that because there is sort of a difference between, and we can kind of get into this with Steve, but basically it's the only spot ETF that has all XRP in it, not sort of a mix of XRP with sort of other things in there. Posted the biggest launch of the year with the largest day one trading volume for any ETF in 2025 at 59 million. It narrowly surpassed Bitwise's 57 million debut for its BSOL ETF last month, which had the top spot among 900 ETFs that launched so far this year. So let's bring in Canary Capital CEO, Steve McClurg. Welcome, Steve.
Hey, Ellie. Hey, Gerald. How you doing?
Good.
Fantastic. How are you?
Happy Friday.
How's your Friday? How's the ETF doing today? I know yesterday was a bit of a whirlwind for you, I'm sure.
I don't know. I just woke up. No, just kidding. Yesterday we were out pretty late. It was processing that kind of volume takes a pretty Herculean effort. We were expecting it, but we didn't expect it the way it did. Especially on a down market day, it seemed like we had a lot of forces running against us, but it still worked out.
Yeah, imagine what it's going to be like on a good day in crypto for the inflows for these ETFs, folks. This thing, I mean, the table is set. Now, this is Maria Bartiromo with Paul Atkins, the SEC chairman. You see where things are going?
Basically, unfortunately, for the last several years now, the industry has been operating in a fog. They couldn't really figure out what the SEC was looking for and how this new technology could be accommodated within the ancient rules that applied to paper filings and paper stock certificates and that sort of thing. We're talking about now, digital assets and that sort of thing on chain. So what we need to do is focus on the basics again, what are securities and whatnot, and then collaborate with our sister regulators, most importantly, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. So if you divide the taxonomy that I outline, and obviously this is my views, and we'll work through notice and comment rulemaking ultimately on all of this, but if you have digital commodities, digital collectibles, digital tools, and finally tokenized securities, and the first three are not securities, and tokenized securities obviously are. So the rub comes in defining, what is and is not a security, and so that's what we are, setting out to do. Basic.
All righty. Okay, now this right here is very interesting because make no mistake, this is what's going on in crypto right now. Because you got to think about it. We're heading towards legislation. Wall Street knows that legislation is the thing that's going to send all of this. So what are they going to do? They're going to do all kinds of manipulation. This is the reason, by the way, that I don't want to do XRP yield, don't want to borrow against my XRP right now, because until we get that legislation and a lot of this manipulation, because these guys, trust you me, these guys are accumulating. And after that legislation comes out and their accumulation is done, this thing is going to go off. But it's important that you understand how these games work, because that's why right now for me, if I have money on these downs to accumulate more XRP, that's what I do. That's what I'll continue doing. I've been waiting for this since 2014. I told my wife in 2014 that if this thing is what I think it is, this is the second coming of the .com. But I think now that I know more, I think it's not just the second coming of .com. That was the Internet of Information. This is the Internet of Value, and it will completely dwarf the .com boom. And this is a new asset class, and it'll be the asset class that swallows up all of the other asset classes because they're all going to be tokenized. But it's common sense that this is the kind of stuff you would deal with in the meantime while we're waiting. This guy is Matt McDonough, Wall Street banker, became a Bitcoiner. So what they're talking about is the potential for Bitcoin manipulation and what's going on. And when they're talking about Bitcoin, it's all of crypto.
It's been a wonderful year in terms of headlines, right? All the amazing things that have happened for Bitcoin, but we're at the same exact price we were as when we started the year. You've said before that you believe that price suppression in Bitcoin is possible and real. Is that what's going on now?
Yeah, it's tough to say definitively that that's what's happening, but I'll make the case. So as I just indicated, Bitcoin's a $2.5 trillion asset. So when you have access to the money printer and you could do things like, print money and then step into the perpetual futures market, short the futures market, you could essentially make price action happen where you start to press down on the price. Now, when you've got a $2.5 trillion thing and the global economy is like $1 quadrillion, and then they could use all sorts of leverage and fake money to summon even more money, suddenly they can exert a lot of pressure onto a very small area. And so, yes, I believe it's possible to keep the price action down. I also think there's more going on than just that, right? Not only is there potentially price suppression happening, but we've got more surface area opening up for people to make their bets on Bitcoin. So, it used to just be you think Bitcoin's going to go up, you buy Bitcoin. Now you can, go on Coinbase and go 3.6x, or you can go on Hyperliquid and go 40x, or you can buy a basket of BTC treasury companies because you think that's a better bet because they're connected to the equities market and there's maybe some torque there, some leverage. So there's lots of different ways to express the I like Bitcoin thesis. And then there's also lots of ways for people who want Bitcoin to stay where it is to press down on that lever.
Mm-hmm. And just this last weekend, Jordy Visser put out a pretty viral piece saying that Bitcoin is undergoing its silent IPO right now, where Bitcoin...
Crypto's silent IPO. That's what we're talking about.
Is trading hands from OGs who have held on to it for over a decade to the new people, the institutions.
Yeah.
If anybody is undergoing their silent IPO, it's XRP's silent IPO.
And that actually, I mean, we've been in look for a narrative this whole entire year. Is like, why are we not mooning right now? Why are we not at 200K?
Yes.
And a lot of people seem to have taken that as the most viable answer.
That's actually very interesting. I hadn't heard of it, but it makes a lot of sense. I just said don't get caught up in unit bias, but people are people. And so when you've been in the game for 10 or 15 years and you hit a big magic number like $100,000, you start to talk about like your wife and people around you who've been with you in this journey for 10 years. They're like, hey, remember when we used to say when Bitcoin gets to 100,000, we're going to get that house, we're going to get that car. You hear that, you can't live in a Bitcoin thing. By the way, you could borrow against Bitcoin and then buy a structure using that value and then live inside that. So you could actually live inside Bitcoin. But yeah, no, I digress. I think that it actually makes sense that there probably is a capital replacement cycle happening where some people are getting off and they've been here for 10 years. They deserve it. They have their upside. They're ready to go. And then you got to think about who are the people stepping in, right? It's people who used to say some naughty things about Bitcoin. Like now BlackRock is stepping in to buy that Bitcoin. And you could argue like, this is the deep state getting their hands on the Bitcoin. This is bad. Well, look, they're getting their hands on the Bitcoin because they see the economic energy leaving the fiat thing and they know where it's going. They understand physics and math better than the average Bitcoiner. And I think that they also see that the winds are changing from the sovereign level. Like individual nations are getting more involved in this. You've got the Trump family literally is one of the largest Bitcoin holders. So and they're getting involved in Bitcoin mining and all sorts of vertically integrated plays. So it's clear that digital assets is very much an important part of the future. It's clear that Bitcoin is the primary digital asset, the most important.
Not clear to me.
Important one because of its dual role as like a capacitor for wealth and a wealth battery, and also really a wealth generation device because this wealth battery is charging up. In 100 years, perhaps Bitcoin doesn't have these 20 to 50% years because, like I said, it's done digesting all the monetary premium that they printed into existence. But
you made a good point there. Once you have a ton of liquidity, you're not going to see this. You're not going to have the I'll say it this way. You're not going to have the opportunity for these major price swings upwards. You're also not going to see the 70% drawdowns. That's the reason I keep saying, don't borrow against your XRP right now. The yield stuff, that's just a matter of investigating how safe it is and what the risks are. But certainly don't borrow against your XRP yet. Down the road, when there's a lot more liquidity and you're not having these mega drawdowns and it's more stable, that's when you start thinking about those kind of things. Not yet. Okay, now what we're going to talk about in DAI XRP is this guy and this thing. I'm not even going to say it out here, but I've been pointing towards this for a long time, and I'm going to show you some things you've probably never seen. This rabbit hole goes real deep, and it's fascinating. And I think there's a lot to it. They came out yesterday. There's newly released emails. We'll go into all of that in the group. Go to daixrp.com. That's the Patreon. If you'd rather join through YouTube, click join below any of these videos. If you'd rather join through X, hit subscribe. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe. Hit the like button. Tell your friends and family. Oof. Here we go.